Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Monica and today I'm doing a review of the Starlore Astronomical Tarot. This is a publication by Urania Press. However, the concept behind this deck was done and designed by Natasha Rowland. I'm sorry if I have mispronounced that, of Urania Press. Now, this review is structured into three parts. In the first part, I'm going to talk about the concept behind the deck. In the second part, I will have a look at my critique of this deck and what, my impressions and my review of this deck is. And finally, in the third part, it is a full flip through of all 56 cards. So let's start with the concept of the deck. Now, the back of the box actually gives you a bit of an idea behind it. It states that this is a beautiful minor arcana tarot deck of engraved illustrations from historical playing card artwork that is over 300 years old, revived and remastered to fit the tarot format by Natasha Rowland, and again I'm sorry if I mispronounced the name, of Urania Press, featuring the folklore and mythical stories of 60 constellations of the northern and southern hemispheres. That's fantastic. So, of course, as an astrologer, anything to do with the stars and constellations is of interest to me. And when I saw this on Kickstarter, I backed it out straight away. I love to learn about our constellations and the myths behind them and the stories behind them. I think that it's absolutely fascinating how our ancestors viewed the sky and the constellations, and how they've mapped it all out, and the stories and the myths that they tell about that. That's a personal interest of mine, and in that sense this deck doesn't disappoint. So it comes with a fantastic book. The book actually is fairly in depth and is one of the best features of this deck in my opinion. And the reason I say that is because, as you can see, when you open it up to any card, you have the location of the constellation in the sky, the star lore behind it, the cartomancy, the tarot meanings, the zodiac, and the divination for it. Okay, so it's quite comprehensive in that sense. The introduction gives you a bit more detail on the idea, the concept behind these cards. I'm just going to quickly read that because I think it is important. So this deck was based on original playing cards, and the book goes on to say John Lenthel's astronomical cards were published in the year 1717 at the Talbot against St Dunstan's Church, Fleet Street, London. They were a deck of 52 cards printed in black for players to be acquainted with all the stars in the heavens. In 2022, I brought Lenthel's deck files out from the archives and into Photoshop to restore them to contemporary high quality. Each card was digitally optimized with many alterations. I created 4 additional night cards, and then the 56 cards were formatted to fit the larger tarot size, aligning each of the French suits of clubs, hearts, spades, and diamonds with the tarot minor arcana suits. To finish, the cards were spot colored to make them more visually delightful, turning an antique poker deck into a contemporary tarot experience. So far, so good and great. Now, in that sense, this deck is fantastic. For anyone interested in astrology, I think that this is a great addition if you want to learn about constellations. And I can tell that there has been a great deal of thought and effort that has gone into this deck. However, personally, I think that there is a mismatch between what I think of a tarot deck and this deck. I don't think it is appropriate to call this a tarot deck, okay? Even though it does state that it's a minor arcana tarot deck. When you look at this astronomical tarot, I automatically thought that it was a 78 card deck. Now, on the Kickstarter campaign, it did say that there were only 56 cards, and at the time I thought about contacting the creator and actually saying, I don't think it's a good idea to call it a tarot deck, but I didn't. I just didn't want to get into it, to be honest. So because it's less than 78 cards, I don't think it is a tarot deck. A tarot deck, as anyone who's into tarot knows, it's 78 cards, not less. And I think that if you're going to create a deck of less than 78 cards, perhaps a more appropriate name would be an oracle card deck, or a playing deck. Now, the number of cards aside, my other critique of this deck is what I consider to be a misalignment or a mismatch between traditional tarot card meanings and the associated constellations for each. And I'll give some examples of that. Before we do so, I'll just point out that the deck comes, so this is the box that it comes in. That is the full-size book. It also includes inside the box a small guidebook as well. And because it was a Kickstarter publication, it also came with a pin. Okay, so it's a pin, and you can see it's an image of one of the constellations. I'm not sure if I can get this to zoom properly. Probably can't. There we go. So this is really nice. And also a sticker. Once again, one of the constellations that I think is featured in here. I haven't looked this up, but it's a really nice sticker. So, I mean, personally, I don't really care so much about Kickstarter add-ons. I honestly would rather that the artist spend their effort on the essence of the deck and on getting the deck right. Like, sure, they're nice to have, but I feel like they're kind of irrelevant at the same time. But anyway, here we are. It did come with these two. So I'll put the book aside for now. Let me put this up here and bring out some of the cards. So these are the card backs, which are absolutely fantastic, and I really, really love them. And I will also say that the cardstock quality is absolutely excellent. One of the best cardstocks that I've come across. And that's what I mean. I mean, this is a quality publication. I can tell that there has been thought that's gone into the design, the book, the information presented, and, you know, even things like the cardstock are just so well done. It is absolutely a quality publication in that sense. When we look at the cards, let me just pick one from the top. Let's say this is the King of Diamonds, or the King of Pentacles. So what you will have is you're going to have the playing card equivalent at the bottom, the tarot suit, Pentacles in this case, and the constellation of Aries. Okay, and this is actually a really good example to illustrate my point about the mismatch between the cards and the tarot suit equivalents. What I mean by that is, for example, in here we've got Aries, which is a fire sign, and the suit of Earth, the suit of Pentacles. I just don't think that that really aligns, okay, as an astrologer and as a tarot reader. That's just my personal opinion, and I know that some people would disagree with me, and that's completely fine. This is my review, and this is my critique of the deck. All right. Some other cards that I've set aside to illustrate my point are, let's have a look, what have we got here? The Three of Pentacles. We've got the Gemini card. Okay, I mean, if you know anything about Gemini, it's an air sign. The Three of Pentacles is all about work, pragmatism, becoming a master and being recognized for your mastery in a particular craft or in your particular vocation. Gemini has got nothing to do with that. So that's what I mean about the mismatch between the tarot card meaning and the constellation that is shown. And I'm a bit dismayed, I have to say, because I feel like I can't really use this as a tarot deck because of this. Okay, another example, we've got the Six of Cups and we've got Aquarius. And you can say, well, yeah, Aquarius is the water bearer, so the suit of cups, which is the suit of water, makes sense. However, Aquarius is an air sign, okay, in the astrological meaning. It is objective, it's detached, it's rational, it's a thinking sign, it's an intellectual sign. It's got nothing to do with cups and emotions, you know. Yeah, it just doesn't really work for me, that association. We look at Taurus again. We are in the suit of water, cups, and we have an earth sign. The Queen of Wands. If you think about the Queen of Wands, the constellation assigned is this, it's called crater, or the cup, okay? It's a chalice. Wouldn't this be so much more apt to go with one of the cups cards, okay? And the book does make an attempt to tie the tarot meaning to the constellation. However, in my opinion, it just doesn't work, okay? Scorpio in the suit of fire. Scorpio, the water sign. Not for me. And Pisces again in the suit of fire. It just doesn't, okay? They don't match for me, all right? Now, does this mean that this deck doesn't hold value and I will not be using it? Absolutely not. I love the concept behind it. Like I said, I love that there is so much information in the book that I can learn about these constellations. And I think that's how I will be approaching this. I'll be using this more as an oracle deck, where I'll be drawing one card to invite the energy of that constellation for me to learn about it, or to teach me something, or to guide me, okay? That is how I will be approaching and working with this deck. It does bother me that it's 56 cards and not 78. And initially, before I looked at the cards, I thought, well, that would be a great idea in the future to add an extra 22 cards and make it a 78 card deck, because while these are constellations, you could add 22 cards in the major arcana, which could be like the single stars that were of huge importance to ancient astrologers all over the world. For example, stars like Sirius, Spica, Regulus. There's a whole list of them. And I think you could definitely come up with 22 that would be considered really important stars. And there is historical information on them, especially from the astrological point of view, to create a 78 card deck where the minor arcana are the constellations and the major arcana are the actual stars. Isn't that a great idea? But again, because the elements in the suits, the tarot cards, don't match up with the constellation, in my opinion, they just don't really align. They're misaligned, okay? Yeah, I don't think that you know, keeping it in this current format will work. I think it needs to be revised, and the suits and the tarot card meanings need to be aligned a lot better. All right, I hope I'm making sense, okay? For example, you know, here's the Four of Wands, and it's got a little dog. I mean, if you think about the Four of Wands, it's a card of celebration, of community, of coming together to celebrate. It's a card of success. And a little dog, it just doesn't work with that, right? Yeah, and there's lots of examples in here. I love the design of the cards, don't get me wrong on here. I absolutely love the design. I love that they're simple, yet they keep to that original playing card design and drawings. I think that that's fantastic. I think in that sense, from a design aesthetic, they're brilliantly done. No issue with the design aesthetic and the ethos and the concept behind it in that sense. I think it's a quality deck, absolutely. It's just not a tarot deck, okay? And that's really my main critique of it. And I'm quite disappointed because I think it held so much potential. And I feel like it sort of missed the mark, and that sort of mismatch between tarot card meanings and yeah, and the constellation meanings, okay? So anyway, I'll go through and I'll do the 56 card flip through to conclude. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't disappointed a little bit in it. but you know, it's not because I think it's a superficial creation. I think that there has been a tremendous amount of thought put into the design of it, into the research of it, into this book, but it just doesn't meet my expectations for a tarot deck, to put it like that. One thing I will say about the book, it's very, very well researched and there's a lot of information in it. I mean, it's not huge, but it's enough for you to chew on, okay, about a particular constellation. But once again, you know, you go to the back and it's got 3 spreads, the 3-card spread, the Celtic Cross, and another relationship spread. And I again feel like this was a missed opportunity to provide some custom spreads based on the concept of constellations. You know, like, wouldn't it be amazing if you had like a constellation spread with a few cards that work with that, or you know, it just provides it like a custom spread that aligns with the energy of the deck. Or take a couple of these cards and do a constellation spread based on those cards, for example. But anyway, I think I've said what I needed to say on it. I'm going to go ahead and do the 56 card flip through one at a time and go through it all without any commentary on it. As always, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting my channel. Until my next video, take care. you.